what we're going to talk about in this video is just how important tax mitigation is, or at least the magnitude of mitigating around taxes. We've got to understand the importance of not paying taxes and what the money does when we send it to Uncle Sam, how it's never to earn for us, again, how much that actually impacts our finances, okay? So I want to show you first, just on a surface level, how much taxes can sting, okay? Let's do just an example breakdown really quickly. So if you're earning at a W-2, your gross income's $215,000. Add a zero, take off a zero. The numbers are going to be roughly the same depending upon your state and your bracket and everything like that. But let's say your income taxes are about $92,000. That's maybe state, federal, and even city, depending on where you are. But you have a net income of $123,000. Now, the problem is that for every dollar that we earn, we only get to keep 57 cents of that. But the problem is that every dollar that we spend is $1 spent, or one whole dollar that we spend, plus we have to pay some taxes on it. So the truth is, you got to earn $2 to spend $1. So once we kind of comprehend that even when we're earning this gross amount, we don't get to keep all of that. But when we spend dollars, we spend the full amount. So we have to understand how important it is to actually keep all of those dollars as often as we possibly can. Okay, I want to do a quick exercise. Doing the study, the exercise of, would you rather have $5 million or would you rather have a penny doubled every day for 30 days? Now, this is kind of a trick question, and I don't want you to think that there's an account out there that can actually produce these returns, okay? This is just an exercise to show what compound interest is and how it can be affected if you have market forces working against you. I just want to show these numbers because, again, this is not talking about an account, whether it's a life insurance policy, whether it's a stock portfolio, whether it's crypto. I'm just describing what compound interest does if something is doubled every single day, okay? And then we'll talk about some market forces that work against us and how bad it can actually ding our returns. So again, if we're just looking at this really quickly, you've got a penny double every day for 30 days. You have 1 cent that turns into $5.368 million. You didn't touch it. You didn't have market forces working against it. It just simply doubled for 30 days in a row, okay? Let's see here. So if you look at the bottom here, again, it's $5.368 million after those 30 days. We don't see a lot of growth until the very end, but notice what happens, okay? Let's see here. Right now, again, we have zero opportunity cost because we have no market forces that are working against us, all right? Okay, now let's look and see what happens if we happen to withdraw money, okay? Now, again, that's for anything, whether we want to buy a pair of shoes, whether we want to go buy a new vehicle, an investment property, whatever it is. We're now taking money out on two separate occasions, so a total of $200, $100 on two separate days, day 15 and day 25. So you notice from day 14, this should have been about $163. We took $100 out, so it's only $63 now. And then in day 25, it would have been $372. It's $272. But look what happens to the opportunity cost, or to our total at the very end here. Instead of us having $5.3 million, we're only left with $2 million. It's an opportunity cost of $3.28 million simply because we withdrew our dollars on two separate days. $200 total. But we have lost $3.2 million because we interrupted compound interest, okay? Understand, I'm not talking about an account. I'm simply talking about what happens when you withdraw money from its earning potential, okay? Let's look at another thing that happens here. Taxes. 15% tax. Could be worse. It could be better. It could be worse, depending upon where you are. But look how bad this is. 15% that's taken out of any of the growth over your entire lifetime here, or even here it's these 30 days. Instead of you having $5.3 million, you're left with just under $600,000, or an opportunity cost of $4.8 million. And if you notice, you only pay $182,000 in taxes. And so, again, this is a pretty substantial amount of money that you had this market force working against you. So I want to, before I get into anything more, I just want you to comprehend that withdrawing money and paying taxes are two of the biggest detrimentals to building our wealth that's possibly out there. Everybody has to do it, for the most part, pay taxes and withdraw money, but there's a better way to do this, and I'll explain how. Before I get into anything more, though, I want to just show guaranteed values versus market values, okay? And again, these are all just math, right? It's just mathematics. There's no funny numbers or anything. It's just showing what happens if you do this, what happens if you do that. I want to show if you had $10,000, okay, in guaranteed market value, it goes up only 4% interest for 10 years, okay? But you know you're earning 4% every single year versus a market loss in year 1, year 5, or year 10. In the same numbers, but I'm going to give a 6% return versus 4. If you notice that we had a loss in the first year of 20,000 or 20%, year 5 is 20%, and year 10 is 20%, I want you to see that even with a higher rate of return, you had less money. Over here with the guaranteed 4%, you earn you're at $14,800, where when you have a market loss of any dip in the market, you're already behind. Why is that? Even if you had a higher interest rate. Because if you look on the far right here, whenever you have a market decline, you always have to claw back by more. So if you have a negative decline of 10%, you got to earn 11.1% to get back to even, to where you were before. It gets even worse as numbers go on. But 25%, you got to earn back 33% just to make back where you were. So what this shows is that you've now not only had an interruption of compound interest because you have less money to grow for you, but now you're already behind the 8 ball. And so versus something that's a guaranteed interest rate. So again, showing that we have any volatility in the market, we're behind. Anytime that we withdraw money, we lose big time. And anytime we have taxes, we're really burned. Just understanding that 1 year of volatility will ruin the compound interest, and it puts you behind the guaranteed interest every time. And who's to say that these market losses don't happen in more than 1 year, right? Okay. Let's just say that you're an investor and you have an equipment that you want to purchase, okay? You walk into the bank, and this is a little story. You walk into the bank, and you have $250,000 in cash in your account. And you go to the bank and say, hey, I'm going to go buy a new dump truck for my business, a new rental property, whatever it is. But you're going to withdraw that $250,000 to go and deploy the equity into that business or that truck or that real estate deal, whatever it is. That $250,000 is being removed from your account in order to go buy something that you need for your business to earn more income. But the banker says to you, wait, I have an idea. What if you leave your money in this account, I'll pay you 4%, and you borrow my money at 6%. You want to do that deal? Your brain, and even me, when I first did this, thought the same thing. Your brain tells you, no, why would I do that? I'm paying more than I would be earning. That would be stupid. I'm losing money on that deal. But if you pull the layers back and actually do the math, let's look at the math here. You have more money. Why is that? Why do we have more money? Because look, let's say this, a payment calculator. Your loan balance of $250,000 at 6% interest, you amortize that out over 60 months or 5 years, your monthly payment is $4,800, okay? So the future value of this, let's say those monthly payments over 60 months, gives it a future value of $289,000 or $290,000. So you paid in interest $40,000 basically to borrow the bank's money. But let's look at the savings account at this bank that this banker told you was a better deal. Your banker actually didn't fib to you. Let's see why. Because you actually didn't remove your dollar's ability to compound. So you had $250,000 that you were earning annual interest rate of 4% for that same amount of time of 60 months. Your bank balance is $304,000, or you earned in interest $54,000. And the arbitrage at the end is you made $14,000 because you did not remove your dollar's ability from compounding. Although you used the bank's money, you had more money because you were always earning on an ever compounding amount while you were always paying down an ever decreasing liability. That's the difference, switch mindset you have to think. It always makes more mathematical sense to borrow someone else's money than to remove your dollar's capability from earning interest. And so that's what I wanted to say. It always makes more sense to use other people's money. Whenever we're not interrupting our own money's ability to compound, we're always earning on that ever-increasing amount of money, while when we borrow the bank's money and pay back that loan, we're always paying down a decreasing liability. We're always earning more than the cost of capital that way. So let's just talk about another thing of the real returns of arbitrage, okay? And so let's just say that we borrowed $300,000 from a bank at 6% for 12 months. You're going to be paying the bank in interest $18,000 for those 12 months, okay? Or whatever that math is, $1,500 a month in interest, or whatever that is, 15, yeah. So, but let's say this. You're lending this money to, you become the bank to an investor. So you borrow $300,000 from the bank at 6% that they're charging you. So you pay them $18,000 after those 12 months. They're happy. You then take that $300,000 and you go lend that as a private money guy or a hard money guy to an investor at 13% of interest per 12 months. And you earned $39,000 in interest. Now, on the surface, you'd look at this and say, okay, I only earned 13 minus 6%. I only earned 7% in the spread. That's not true. Again, your brain is playing a trick on you because it feels like on the surface that we would only earn, it's easy math. 13 minus 6 is 7%. The real return is not 7%. It's 216%. Not to mention using someone else's money, so you really have an infinite return. But your only liability is the bank's $18,000 in interest, but you earned 39. So the 39 that you earn, you divide that by your cost of capital, that equals 2.16 or 216% return on a deal where you didn't have to remove, and not to mention any of the growth inside of an account that you didn't, because you didn't take money out of your policy. That's the power of using other people's money out in the marketplace. So again, that's the power of using other people's money. Once we comprehend that we don't want to remove our dollars from earning, we would much rather have a lower guaranteed interest rate than be susceptible to the market at a higher interest rate, but knowing that any volatility can crush our compounding and we'll be behind. So we don't want to remove dollars, we don't want to pay taxes, and we don't want to have any volatility because it's going to put us behind the 8 ball when it comes to growth inside of any account. Now, we're going to get into the third video here showing how life insurance works and how you can have all of these factors work for you instead of having market factors work against you. See you in the third video. All right, so this is video 3 talking about going into actual life insurance and infinite banking. The first 2 videos were talking more about not interrupting compound interest by withdrawing dollars or by paying taxes or having market volatility that burns our compound interest. And then the first video was talking about commercial real estate, talking about how to use bonus depreciation in order to offset against our active income in that taxable year. This third video is just going to talk about how we fund these real estate deals, and most importantly, understanding how life insurance and infinite banking actually works. Okay, here we go. So before we get into anything else, we got to understand that we finance everything that we do. We either borrow someone else's money and pay them interest, or we save up cash, spend it, and then give up the ability to earn interest on the cash we just spent, okay? So the majority of people, whether you have $1 million, $100,000, or $10,000 sitting in a checking account, we'll use this kind of timeline as what everybody tends to do, is keep, whether it's a kind of a rainy day amount, right? It could be, again, $1 million, it could be 1,000. But everybody, for the most part, has anywhere between that amount of money that they leave. If it gets too high, they go move it to an investment. If it gets too low, they bring more capital in. But most importantly, we keep around this same amount of money in this account. But the majority of people, they finance everything that they do. 75 to 85% of Americans actually are always in debt, borrowing other people's money and paying them back with interest. The other side of the coin, the Dave Ramseys of the world, the 15 to 20% of the rest of America, what they'll do is they'll actually save up capital and then they'll spend it at the very end. And so they'll save, and spend. Save, and spend. And they go, and the problem is, though, is we end up getting to the same point, whether we're borrowing money or whether we're saving up cash and spending it. The problem is we never actually get anywhere with our cash, this amount of money, all the while we have all of these transactions and ebbs and flows inside of this cash account. What infinite banking does essentially on a very surface level is it allows us to still control our capital, to control the payback schedule, control the amortization of when we buy things and pay for investments or vehicles or any type of other transaction. But we control everything, but we don't interrupt the compound interest of our dollar, all the while the insurance company's money's out in the marketplace. Okay? So Why infinite banking? Well, first we have to find out that there's only really 3 places that we can keep money. It's in tax today's account, things like savings, money markets, CDs, tax deferred accounts, 401ks, IRAs, SEPs, and then tax never accounts, things like your mattress, a safe, or life insurance, properly engineered for cash value. So if we could draw up a perfect business working capital account or an equity account, these are normally, in my opinion, what most of our business owners or high income earner net worth individuals focus on as primary attributes of a working capital account. They want to have a competitive rate of return. They like to have safety where any dollar in there can't lose value or can't go backward. They want it to be liquid where we can get our hands on it if and when we need it. Ideally, it would be tax-free where nobody can actually, or Uncle Sam isn't our partner, where he can sink his talons into our dollar. Creditor protection, which is one that not a lot of people consider, but when it comes into real estate or any type of litigation, we want to make sure that an attorney or any other entity can't come after those dollars. But most importantly, an idea called uninterrupted compound interest, where even when we access our dollar, it still continues to grow inside of that account as if the money never left. Okay. So let's just go into this though. So these are the attributes of why we use life insurance. Again, just to going on the tax today metric here first. Tax today's accounts don't have competitive rate of returns. We're earning pennies. Are we saying it's safe? Sure. Is it liquid? Sure. We can get our hands on it when we need it. But obviously, it's not tax-free. It feels like it's tax-free because we haven't earned anything in a long time. But if you were to actually earn anything in a savings account, you would get a 1099 from that institution for whatever interest that you earned. Obviously, it's not creditor protected. That's the first place a banker's or a litigator or an attorney's going to go when he's pressing charges on you. And then obviously, uninterrupted compounding. When you remove those dollars to go spend it on something, are you still earning on the money that's in the account? No, you're not because it's left. Let's switch over to tax deferred. Is it competitive? We hope it's competitive, right? Money sitting in any type of investment account, we're hoping that we're getting a competitive return. So let's check that box. Is it safe? Probably not. A lot of people over the last year have experienced a pretty significant dip in any investment account. Is it liquid? No, it's tax deferred. You have to tie those dollars up until you're at least 59 and a half years old before you can begin withdrawing those dollars. And then again, partnering with Uncle Sam. So obviously the next one is tax free. No, it's tax deferred. So the government is your partner on this. He's your silent partner. For every dollar that you earn, he's getting a slice of it. Is it creditor protected? In certain states, it is. Thankfully, if a litigator was to approach you, he could not access the dollars inside of your deferred account. But then obviously, uninterrupted compounding. When you take the money out of the 401k, is it still earning? No, you've taken it out to go do something with it. Thankfully, infinite banking checks all of these boxes. You have a competitive rate of return of 4% that's guaranteed plus a dividend. So I like to say anywhere from 4.5% to 5% every single year on your money. It's safe. These policies cannot go backward. You're contractually guaranteed to have more money the next year than the year before. It's liquid. Getting a policy loan is as easy as shooting me a text and saying, "Hey, Nolan, I need $50,000." I say, "Sounds good." It'll hit your account in 2 to 3 business days. It's tax-free. No, any dollar that goes in this is never to be taxed by the government. You've removed him from the IRS from your partner for the rest of your life. It's creditor protected. No entity or litigator can come after any amount of money that's inside of your account. Again, in certain states, the more liberal states, there are a little bit more discretionary on how much or how little a litigator can attach a lien to your policy. But 48 of the states, no creditor can touch your money. And then the big straw that stirs the drink is the uninterrupted compound interest. When you access the money, and I'll show you how in a minute, when you access the money, your dollars do not stop earning. You continue to grow and earn as if your money never left. So really quickly, let's give you a quick history on how these infinite banking policies are designed, okay? So in the past, you've heard of the Rockefellers, you've heard of the Ray Krocs and McDonald's, the J.C. Penney's, these higher net worth and huge wealthy families. What they actually used to do is put millions of dollars into insurance policies called single premium insurance. And what that was is they would go to the insurance carrier and say, here's $5 million of cash. And they would suppress the death benefit, and the insurance company write them and say, we'll give you $5,100,000 of death benefit. but they had immediate liquidity of that $5 million. They just changed the location of it. And again, the reason why they did this was because of all the attributes I just showed you. So all of these wealthy individuals were funneling millions. And if you Google BOLI, B-O-L-I, bank-owned life insurance, banks park billions of dollars in specially designed life insurance policies just like this for all those exact reasons of those attributes. But what happened in I believe it was 74, when Uncle Sam stepped in and did the ERISA Act, which essentially introduced the 401k and the IRA and all these tax-deferred plans. Life insurance actually used to be the primary savings vehicle of all families up until about that time when the ERISA Act actually came on board. But unfortunately, the government began getting involved in the investment business instead of life insurance. And so people started to funnel money into the tax-deferred accounts and away from whole life insurance. And so what happened is, and this is why I believe insurance guys get a bad reputation, is they went to the whole other side of the spectrum. Before, it was all about cash value, and which was high cash value, very low death benefit, low profits, and low commissions. And the insurance agency or industry in general went to the whole other side of the spectrum here and started focusing on death benefit, profits, and commissions, and suppressing the cash value as low as possible. So that's where things like term insurance, variable life, index universal life, and even, I say traditional whole life is all structured for death benefit, which is then huge profits and huge commissions to agents. Well, thankfully, there was a gentleman that came around, his name was Nelson Nash, and he discovered that you can actually take whole life insurance contracts and flip them on its head and get them really, really close to the single premium insurance model. But before that, there was a thing called the Modified Endowment Contract line, or this MEC line, if you've studied it. And that's just basically the IRS's limit as to how much liquidity you can have in a life insurance policy without it becoming an investment vehicle. And what this metric is, and as I'll show you guys here in a minute, most importantly, we have to understand that Nelson Nash created a policy that is a whole life policy that's right up next to this MEC line, where you get all of these same attributes of single premium insurance. The same reason the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, the Ray Krocs, all those guys were doing single premium insurance, but because we're on the right-hand side of this MEC line, we don't have to pay any taxes on any of the growth. So that's how we basically grew into this design, is Nelson Nash discovered this idea or how we could do this, and then by putting it into practice. So let's just break down how a policy is constructed. So again, let's use this $100,000, and it could be, you can have $1 million, you can put in $10,000. There's actually no limit as to what you can and can't do. It's just the ratios inside of the policy are what drive the value and what drive the growth of the policy. It's all about the metrics, and so we're going to split this $100,000 into two numbers, almost like a numerator and a denominator from back in high school fraction math class. 60% in the very first year goes to what is called FPUR, or Flexible Paid Up Rider. It's a fancy word for cash value, okay? And then in the bottom here, in the denominator here, we're going to send about 40%, and that's going to go to base premium. Now, we don't have access to this $40,000 in the first year, and I'll show you why. But most importantly, the $40,000 of illiquidity doesn't go away. It goes to actually purchasing the asset to the life insurance company's eyes, and I'll explain this in a minute. But most importantly, after the very first year of this policy, you've now set the ceiling, which is $100,000, and then the floor of $40,000. Every year moving forward, any amount of money that you put into this, year 2 and beyond, 98 cents of that is going to go immediately to cash value. And then it's going to keep growing. You're going to have a larger number, compounding and compounding. But depending upon your business, the ebbs and the flows, you can put as much or as little inside of this policy that you want. I always like to say, if you're going to be, building a business, would you rather want to compound on a large number or a small number? Okay. But every year you can put as much or as little. If you have a year where you need to put 80 in, year when you put 40, 60, 100, it's all up to you and how you want to fund this policy. Okay. We can go into more of that. But most importantly, I want to show how we earn uninterrupted compound interest. Like I mentioned a minute ago, how we're able to still earn inside of the policy as if it never left. Well, that $40,000 that I showed you, where you don't have access to it, what that does is to go and purchase the asset. So I want you to think about this from a real estate perspective. Maybe you own a home, maybe you're renting, whatever it is. Most people, let's say that you have a home equity line of credit, right? A HELOC. And you've put $100,000 of equity that you've built up in your home, and you own $1 million home. Every month you make mortgage payments. And as you know, there's interest attached to that at the bank, but you build principal, you build equity in your home. Now, on the other side of this, whole life insurance is almost identical to a HELOC. The difference is that we just call, instead of mortgage payments, we call this premium deposits. When you make premium deposits, you build equity or cash value inside of your policy. Now, that initial step back in when we sent that base premium of $40,000 that was illiquid, that goes to this side of the balance sheet or purchases this $1 million of death benefit. Now, that number is going to change depending upon your age and your health, but let's just try to keep apples to apples here. So again, when you want to go and borrow from your home equity line of credit, and let's say you and your wife or your husband want to go and borrow $50,000 of equity from your home to go redo your kitchen. Now, that's not going to interrupt the appreciation of your home, and every time you still make mortgage payments in your property, you're still building equity. When you borrow from that line of credit, the asset in which you're borrowing against is real estate or your home. Same thing with life insurance. You've built up equity by making premium deposits. When you go and borrow from the cash value or borrow the equity away, you're not interrupting the appreciation of the policy, but they're putting a lien on your death benefit. That's the only thing so the asset to the life insurance company is the death benefit, the same way that the asset to the bank or to the collateral to the bank is your real estate. That's how they're identical. It's all about the nature of the collateral. So let's just do a quick policy example so you can see what these numbers look like, okay? Now again, this is not maybe describing you. We can add a zero. We can take off a zero. These are just going to be showing numbers that are, let me see if I can move myself over here. Well, what this says here is cash outlay, which is our deposits, our cash value, and then our death benefit column. That's what that shows. And what this is showing is really clean. Again, it doesn't have to be like this. You can put, after the first year, you could put $40,000 into this all the way till you're 75 if you wanted to. But I just wanted to make this look clean. That way, just for visually, you can see it. So the first 4 years, we're going to make $100,000 deposits, or 5 years of this deposits of $100,000. Year 6 and beyond, we're going to make $40,000 deposits into this policy, for a total amount of $640,000 of deposits into this policy, okay? Now, the cash value, as you can see, after year 1, we're going to have that same step back. That $40,000 that we didn't have liquid goes to purchase $1.88 million of death benefit. Again, that's the asset to the life insurance company that we're able to borrow against. So after 10, you have liquidity. You can borrow this whenever you want, okay? But most importantly, as you can see, over 10 years, you made $640,000 of deposits. You've got $684,000, almost $85,000 of cash value. So you've almost got $45,000 of growth inside of the policy. Now, I want to hammer home how important this is. This life insurance policy is not going to make you rich. It's what you do with the money is what's going to give it superpowers, okay? So just know that this is just better because you're not paying taxes on the growth and you're not interrupting compound interest. Mathematically, you will have more money doing this strategy than working with Wells Fargo. It's just mathematics. You will have more money. So again, out of the gate, you're coming out a little slow. You're behind, but you start to catch up. You can see here, even from year 7 to year 8, year 8 to year 9, or whatever that is, you had $563, and then you made a $40,000 deposit. And then your cash value went up to $623. That's basically you just earned $60,000 in 1 year on a $40,000 deposit. That's a 50% return on your cash that year. Now, that's not describing the internal rate of return of the policy. But that's saying that if you went down to the local bank and you made a $40,000 deposit and they immediately wrote you a check back the very same day for $60,000 and you had the ability to go do whatever you wanted with that, who says no? That's basically what this is it takes time to get to that, but over time, the compounding effect on your money can truly be enormous. And then not to mention too, after year 10 of these deposits, you can see that you'll see a little star right here. This shows, and we can get into the details as time goes on, but most importantly, you now have permanent life insurance that you can't outlive. You did what is called right here a reduced paid up policy, where you tell the insurance company you're not going to send one more dime to base premium or flexible paid up rider. They're going to shut it off. You're going to keep earning money. You can see you earned another $400,000 over the next 10 years. You didn't take any risk, you didn't pay any taxes, and it's contractually guaranteed. Plus, you get a permanent death benefit. It's tough to compete with that. So that was the end of part 3, just talking about life insurance on the 30,000-foot view, because at the end of the day, it's not really talking about what the policy does. It's what you do with the money. It's what's going to give it superpowers. So again, this part 4 is going to talk about what happens if we actually take life insurance and we bring commercial real estate and we smush them together. Let's see what really happens.